Adam Coven with Coven Lifestyle Real Estate Royal LePage Pro Alliance. I'm here with Mason LaFramboise of LaFramboise Construction. There's a relationship between the
small one.
And look, I have a close connection because Mason, when he was starting out, did a lot of work for my clients, and I kind of relied on Mason for help. Where I said, look, we need a floor, all of a sudden it's, hey Mason, can you do my house? Or hey Mason, can you build my client a house? So you come a long way. It's like a Virginia Slims commercial. That's cigarettes, so that's a long time ago. But tell us a story. Like, how did this kind of start? I think we all know the LaFramboise name because of cars and automobiles. And your father gave me $20 to mention Kingston Dodge. So, but where did you deviate? I know you've got siblings in the business, and you went off and decided that you're gonna actually get your hands dirty, like those car guys. So what got you interested in construction?
I would say actually had a job one summer at a corporation, and it was a sales marketing job. And it was actually at Mazda corporate. And my uncle actually owns Kingston Mazda. So
yes.
There's some more branding.
$20 more.
But I coincidentally didn't get the job through him. I just got through conference or answers at school.
Yeah.
And when I was working there at that job, I had a lot of free time because I get my assignments done, and they didn't have a lot of work to give me. So I started studying real estate at that time, just saying, well, that could be good to get into. Long story short, I went and got a loan, went and bought some real estate. I did a development on a property where I took a single family home and made it a 2-family home or a 2-unit dwelling. I rezoned it.
Yes.
And I flipped it. And I said, okay, I want to go and buy more real estate. So back to the bank, I said, okay, I've paid everything out. I want to go buy more of this. And well, you can't because you don't have enough equity to buy your next one. And I go, oh shoot, what do I do now? Well, I've developed these skills that I have from renovating this property. Prior to that, I had worked for a construction company over the summer during my university education.
Yes.
And so I said, you know what? Let's start a construction company. Let's make some money and then buy more real estate. And that just kind of spitballed from doing small renovations to mid-sized renovations to additions, gets to custom commercial work, and then we're basically getting exposed to custom homes now. And big renovations and additions.
Thank God you're into construction, not real estate. So we'd have to fight. Well, and I have look. I've been the benefit of your work personally. You renovated my house, which I love, and we've done some projects where you have taken standard homes and you found that diamond in the rough, which allowed me to look really good by getting a lot of money for it. But really, I didn't do anything other than do all the marketing and advertising and pay the guys that are all around us to do it. But the hard stuff really is knowing the trends and understanding is my belief. We start to see things change in the marketplace. And I don't think that I would say that the realtor sees it first. I think that it kind of comes from the person, the finished product comes to us and we sell it. And then we start to notice a trend of what's getting a better price point or a better return on investment. So I think that you, through your clientele, probably see something that becomes more sought after, or whether it's color or it's a material. Like, what do you find drives this market that makes it? Because we're in a really crazy market where things are selling quickly, and you are doing these great renovations, and people are doing some flips and they are doing renovations. Where do you find the trends are coming from? Are you picking these things out? Are you sitting down in the tub with a nice Cosmo and determining what the next color is for the season? But what is it that you find that drives you to understand to give advice to your client?
Well, typically I say to all my clients, I say, you need an inspiration photo. You need something that you want to do. And so typically they'll come to me with a million Pinterest photos.
Yeah.
And so I'll go from there and say, okay, well, we need to kind of sort through these things, and I'm going to kind of steer you in the direction I think you want to go.
Yeah.
Because you got to, let's say there's 1,000 photos, which there isn't, but you pick 10 of them.
Yeah.
So from there, we have been noticing a bunch of different trends over the time period. And as you look back through the years, it went from like gold, and then it went to, I think you were saying, brushed nickel, and there was satin nickel and a bunch of different colors in between. And now I'd say we kind of went into the gold and matte black stage.
Do you say the gold because I went gold and you're just making me feel good?
No. We're doing a build right now, and we have actually the combination of both. So we have gold fixtures and in some rooms and matte black in the other.
Crazy,
Yeah.
but you're right. So those are the things that I agree, and I don't know what the trends are, where it gets fed from. Where do you think that the people, where does the trend change? Where does all of a sudden society, where do the builders, or where does it come from where everyone's all of a sudden decides to go from gold to black?
I've actually really thought about that deep into it.
Well, you should. We're trying to make it. But that's not a fair question. I guess I say, is there anything that sort of surprises you how things sort of change, like color changes and things like that happen? But you find trends that happen because of the situation. Look, our world is very different. We're stuck in our houses, so I always find the trend changes of. I talk about the rec room versus the in-home office or study space. I find that as a product of COVID, that we're using our space differently, that our freedoms at the time of movement were different. So kids weren't going to school. It's like, where are they going to study? So have you found some of those trends that have happened because of the change in the way we use our houses now and how we're limited to movement?
Oh, definitely. I can't even count how many times I've been called just to say, hey, can you put a concrete slab in our backyard? And go, oh, for what? Oh, or we want to put a hot tub in. And that's like very common, which, there's lots of people who do that, but we don't specialize in that. We have done it before for clients, but it's not really something that we want to continually do forever. We kind of want to take on the bigger, larger projects. But I would definitely say from COVID that people are sitting there looking at their house. They're not going on vacation. They're not spending that money elsewhere. They're spending it in their house where they're sitting at and looking all the time. And then from a trend standpoint, I would say we've gone from the colonial look where all the casings and stuff have the different profiles and codes to it. And it's kind of changed from that to a bit more of a modern finish. Even the people who are typically more colonial have a bit more of a modern finish touch to that. But also there's a lot of different earthy tones and stuff too. So it's like people are pairing modern with a more earth rustic feel, I'd say, to bring the warmth back into the house. Because you can go into some people's houses and they might look like a dentist office. Yeah. And you're going, I don't really feel comfortable here. So you want to bring some natural woods and stuff like that back in through the whole feeling of the house. So I'd say that's more or less, I would say that's probably changed things, COVID for sure. Trends and stuff like that, I would say the trends are coming from social media, different like Instagram, all those renovation shows. I feel like my business is basically exploded because of all these different shows like, Brian Baumler and with Joanne Gaines and all that sort of stuff. So it's just, and the other thing too, though, on those shows, they sometimes set unreal expectations. Yeah, I was going to ask, does this make your life more difficult? Friends of mine that are doctors, and so somebody sits down, it's like they've got like this red mark and it's like, look, I think this is like mesothelioma and I think I got this because I was out and there was like this rare spider I think may have bit me because that's one of the causes. But do you have that same sort of issue where people have Googled or they've watched these shows and they're the experts, so it makes it more difficult to you? Or is it helpful that they come to you with these ideas, whether they're valid or worthwhile? Or do you have to cut through it, or are these is all the online with all that online influence that's coming into everybody, and here it's like, this is what you need to buy and this is what you need to do, and if you buy this table, you'll find a spouse. Like, so you find that all of that noise that's coming in is helping because it's encouraging people to do their renovations, or do they come in like the doctor's office where it's like, let me tell you how you're going to build this roof? I would say that there are some clients that are, they're educated and they've made themselves educated, which is really good. And YouTube is a really powerful source. And so you do have sometimes the clients will try to tell you why they think this is the best method or way. It's not too common anymore. Like, I still don't find clients telling us how to build stuff or anything like that. And usually they don't really question, at least our company, for how we're building it. That being said, I think when I was young and starting out, probably one of the tactics and things I used was YouTube to research everything. Yeah. And not that it's the best source, and sometimes it's not. And that's the other thing too, is just in the industry, a lot of things is just following plans that are given and making plans and making solid plans from the get-go. And if you deviate from that plan, that's when another item we talk about. That's when costs start going up.
Yep.
I always tell my clients to say it's really cheap to make a change on paper, but when you're actually in the midst of it and you want to make a change midway through, that's when the costs start adding up.
And it's hard, when you start to you talk about costs when we were talking about investment properties. I get it. It's like, here, I'm going to buy this property for this much. I'm going to inject this much money. I have this much capital. I'm going to bring this much income in. So I'm going to put that over top of my capital costs, and that's what my return is. Okay, that's fine. No granite. Oh, I can afford the granite. I'll get another $10 a month. It's different though with a house. Houses are not, I've said it before, houses are they're not a vehicle for investment. You're not supposed to put them on the line to pay payroll. They're not supposed to do it because, you're gonna get the best return when you sell it in maybe 20 years. But that being said, that advice must be important. I try to give that advice too. Like, look, it's not an investment. Enjoy your house. You're gonna be there for 20 years. But we take a look at some of these properties and what we're gonna put into them, and you have to stop and say, look, you're going too far. I'm a realtor, so when we're talking about these investments and we're talking about the home investment and people are coming to you and they want to spend money on their house, I always have to look at it from a resale point of view. And I want to be able to look at it from a point of view that this is your home, you're going to raise your family here, you're going to enjoy your life here. And you have to sit there and you come in, and some people might be asking for all sorts of ideas that they've got. What's your litmus test where I'll stop a person saying, look, you're going too far. You've got a bungalow here that's going to have $1 million into it and your neighbor's worth $500,000. Do you find that you get into situations where there's a point where you have to tell them that, this is not the right renovation for this property?
Well, you do have people who let's say they have a $400K house and that they're the most expensive house on the street, and there's that $400K, which doesn't buy you much these days. And you do have people who come in and be like, I want to drop $500K into this place. You're like, that's just gonna go nowhere. But you kind of got to dance around with a bit and kind of, pick your battles sometimes.
Where do you see though? So sometimes when it is the house and you're not trying to do it for the investment, but in your expertise, when you're seeing, I know what I see for the sale side, but dollar for dollar, because you're the one that's pricing these out and you're doing these renovations. So your kitchen renovations, you got the floors, then you've got the not so sexy stuff like ceilings and roofs and all of these stuff. All these not so sexy things like roofs, but where do you see the best dollars being spent? And then you've seen the result, because I know you'll ask me, hey, what'd that end up selling for? So in your estimation, what's the best things? If you give me 3 things where you're saying, look, if you're going to update your house, here's the 3 things that you should look at first, whether it's 5 years or 10 years from now, because someday you're going to be selling it, or someone's going to be selling it. What are these 3 things that you would recommend people do for renovations? Best dollar. Spend $1, you're going to make $2, $3, $4 on it.
The number one thing's paint.
Paint? We were joking around about paint.
That's the simplest thing, but it is definitely the best, highest return on investment. You paint your own house. If your house is a really, not a very nice color or not painted well, and then you just paint the whole thing.
I think you're so right. We have Patricia English in here, and she does a lot of staging for us, and she's a big believer in paint. And she'll walk into the house and say, "That's got to go out." And then she'll tell me these 3 colors, and I'll look at them like, they're all white. So, but to her and to her trained eye, and to yours, they pop a house out. They brighten it up and make it larger. So paint, very interesting. Okay, so I have to agree with that. I don't know that I can pick out my 3 whites, but yeah. And what's the color trend right now?
One of the architects we're dealing with, she actually says she specifies Chantilly lace from Benjamin Moore, the brand name.
Well, I like my toilet paper to be that color too. It's very calm.
So I'd say it's probably one of the big colors.
Chantilly lace by Benjamin Moore.
It's pretty much just white.
$20. Okay, so whites and brights, and what's the tint on that? Is it a gray or a blue or a?
I would say if it was going to be a tint, it'd be a gray of sorts.
Okay.
But I'd say it'd be pretty much white.
Okay.
And they actually paint the trim. That's I'd say it's like more of a matte almost in the walls, and then the trim is all semi-gloss. and just because you really don't want to paint trim and doors not semi-gloss, or you're gonna see marks like crazy.
What happened to eggshell? I always hear about eggshell. Okay, so that's it. So paint color number one, and I admit, like, you know, you can paint. What's a whole house? You know, what's a 2,000 square foot house cost to be painted? You know,
It's
top to bottom.
depends on the painter you get. It might range from 6 to 10.
Okay. So that's a big change. You know, all of a sudden, you've got this whole new shade, whole new view, whole new brightness to the house. Assuming that we're going from sort of a dark color, unlike this studio, to to something that's light and bright. Okay, so 6 to 10,000. We can handle that. We can hack that. And I admit, we have seen houses turn around just based on paint. You know, it's not selling. Not in this market, but we've changed paint color in a kitchen, and all of a sudden somebody walks in and says, wow, it's so bright, and it's sold. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, give me 2 and 3.
Biggest return on investment? I would say definitely flooring would be huge, depending on what you have, I would imagine, and depending on what you pick. I know vinyl plank is very popular right now for flooring, which is, I kind of see it everywhere. I think people why they like it is because it's pretty much bulletproof. If you have dogs, they can like scratch it and nothing doesn't actually get scratched.
I'm surprised. I just walked through a $3 million house. Like, I just came from it. And it was vinyl plank and ceramic, that wood ceramics that you had installed as well. And I was shocked, and then I stopped. And I remember you telling me like that 1.3 or 1.4 mil stuff. Is it right that it's a similar cost point to engineered hardwood?
The vinyl, it depends. You can actually get some really, you can get. Typically, it runs between, I would say, on average, like $5 a square foot.
Okay.
But if you get the wider plank, the longer plank, you can go up to 10 probably. I would say hardwood right now is between 10 and 15. Like
okay, so I'm a liar. Okay, so it's not quite caught up, but I agree with you. The utility of it. But I have a big dog, and he destroys everything. He's got hair everywhere, and the vinyl plank doesn't scratch, and it doesn't. So, but are people adapting to it yet? Because I'm still old school. Where I'm like, hey, when I hear vinyl, I think of like, you know, the old basement bathroom that my parents had, and the little piece that was curling up, and you know, the little rust stain. But vinyl is not a 4-letter word now. It's actually a 5-letter word. But it's not a bad word when we talk about vinyl plank.
No. I think the only thing that detracts from it, and it's a great product for basements. I think that you'll see that pretty much on a lot of builds.
Yeah.
They'll do hardwood on the main floor, vinyl through the basement. The only downside with vinyl is if you're going to tile your bathrooms and do vinyl elsewhere, you're going to have a transition, and that transition is going to be like a bump up. It's not huge, but it's, you know, tile is typically 3/4 of an inch. Well, vinyl might be a 1/4 inch.
Oh, gotcha.
In thickness.
Okay.
So you're gonna have a 1/2 inch rise.
Yeah. Well, that's where we have LaFramboise Construction come in and do a seamless transition. Okay, so vinyl plank, we know that is sort of the flooring of the future, but flooring in general. And I agree, when you walk into a house, I'm seeing more carpet free again, and all of that sort of issue is still on the, people don't want, other than the stairs, generally people want a carpet free house.
I haven't seen laminate in a long time. We don't even price laminate anymore.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna be a thing anymore.
Yeah, I agree. It shouldn't be. Not all the people have laminates are not calling me to list their okay, so I like that. So I got paint, I got flooring. These are not expensive. Look, kids, these are not expensive items. These are reasonable. I thought he was going to come in and say, you know, big screen TVs and satellites, and no. I thought he would come in with, you know, a whole room renovation. So okay, what's number 3? Wow me.
I would say between kitchens and bathrooms would be, and it depends. If you have a good master bath or a good bath in general, then I would do your kitchen. And if you don't have a good kitchen, or do your bath.
So they're equitable.
Yeah, they're very similar because people really care about that. They spend a lot of time there.
What if you put a bathroom in your kitchen?
That could be done. A little drawer or something like that.
Okay, so that's the sexy item, which and that can be very expensive. You know, the trends in the bathrooms and the kitchens especially. I can't get over the things that you can do, but I'm shocked with, you know, even just going with the bare minimum. Like, so give me a kitchens. I find are sort of one of those backbones. You do a kitchen and it changes a house's feel, you know, right off the bat. what do you find with kitchens right now? What are the trends that are going on in the average cost for renos? I know that's not easy. You got big kitchens versus small.
It could be between 45. It depends.
That's not fair. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go on cost on kitchen. I like
Trends though. We can talk about trends.
Okay. Yeah. So kitchens and bathrooms, which I think we all agree, those are some of the most important parts of the films where they're eating or shitting. I can't think of why this is. Okay, so kitchens and bathrooms. I agree. Two of the most important things. The dining room is not where it used to be. People actually are buying homes that do not have a separated dining room. The rec room maybe is replaced by, as we were saying, the den, or the study, or the place to work at home, your home office. But we gotta have bathrooms. We have to have kitchens. So what's trending there? Where is my biggest return? Is it the countertops? Is it the cabinetry? Is it the type of appliances that we have? I'm not sure what constitutes the great reno.
I would say it's the countertops if I was going to choose one of the three, because you can always change your appliances out. And if we have these custom cabinetry line. It's called they're very high-end custom cabinetry line. You can spend a fortune on these cabinets, and I'm telling you, they are like the nicest cabinets I've ever seen. But if I go to a house with those cabinets versus the house with a bit more standard cabinets, still soft close, still have all the same hardware.
Yep.
I'm not going to be able to tell the difference as the regular retail client.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell the difference that has a stone countertop. And so I think that is a big selling feature and a huge resale value. If I was doing even student rentals, I've done student rentals in the past, I would put stone countertops in all of them.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that selling feature is people can say I have stone countertops. And
yeah.
Even laminate, it's not nearly as expensive for countertops, of course, but there's still a cost to it, so you might as well upgrade a little bit and get stone.
Yeah, I agree. You heard it first. He said upgrade and get stoned. Okay, so we've talked about sort of number 3. I think a lot of us will agree. We live in our kitchens, and bathrooms are an asset, especially when it's an ensuite off of a primary suite. So those things, we looked at very luxury lines, what have you. But let's tie number 1 and 3 together. So we've got paint colors, and we've now got our kitchen bathrooms. But in the kitchen, which again, I think it's a gathering point. As I said, dining rooms are a little passé. We're in our kitchens and we sit there and we eat. Whoever's cooking wants to be part of the action. What are you seeing as far as the bolder trends that are happening in kitchens for colors and materials and even maybe other type of aesthetics that we haven't been seeing before?
I would say right now, trends, obviously the two-tone, so your place, there's an island, cobalt blue island, and then we have the white uppers. That's the contrast. Other jobs are actually doing another one with a similar idea. It's a navy blue island, and there's...
So you're saying that I'm stylish? Wait, no, you're saying that you made me stylish. Okay, got it. Continue.
And a lot of people are taking earth tones and other woods and stuff like that, and they're putting those as around that island. And so it's becoming a cool pairing. The other thing I'm seeing, which I really think is cool, is when people take cabinet door faces and they put them on their appliances. And
yeah.
You did that with your dishwasher.
Again. Yeah, I love appliances, but all of a sudden you got 5 appliances in a space, and you start to think. But yeah, I think it's more interesting. You had shown us a couple other things where these dishwashers that were actually pull-out drawers. So all of a sudden it's is this a pot drawer, or all of a sudden this is my dishwasher? But then you got this beautiful banquette of beautiful cabinetry, and I do like it. Now that being said, I do think that there's some gorgeous stuff, Fisher Paykel and Viking, and that's a statement. But yeah, I have to agree. If you can find the cabinet front for your fridge or your dishwasher, you don't want the whole thing to look like a big cabinet wall. Then I have to agree. I can just keep going on with this.
I just find it's I don't know. My electrician always says he had an architect, and she was talking about all the outlets on the walls, and she said, I try to reduce as many outlets as I can see on the walls. And she said it's like wall acne. And and so he was saying we try to avoid wall acne. And so he said similar with lighting. That's in your kitchen. There's lots of lighting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we try to avoid seeing it looking like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
And on the outside of your house with lighting, people put so many pot lights on the outside of their house in their soffit, and sometimes it looks like a spaceship.
Yeah.
And so it just keeps going on with these. We have all these metaphors of things that we could talk about for different style trends we don't want to do, and it's good to. I always find in a lot of cases less is more.
Yeah.
And so taking those appliances, for example, and kind of muting them with the cabinetry, I always find it just draws your attention more to the kitchen itself and to the countertops, to the features of the appliances. But it depends, like you're saying, there are some appliances like, I don't know, Sub-Zero Wolf and stuff like that, Thermador.
Yeah, you want people to see, hey.
I have that.
I want to see my Sub-Zero.
They have those like red knobs or whatever. I don't know, they're pretty cool. We actually have a client right now, and we're installing this Thermador big gas range, and I think it's somewhere around like 25 to 30K for this. And it's like a 600-pound big giant stove, and
you know what he had for dinner? A lean cuisine meal he put in the microwave.
It is quite cool actually, because I think in part of it they have a steamer as well. It's like almost like a microwave steamer.
Yeah, I think that's. I would be thinner and healthier with that device. It's the microwave that kills me, and Uber Eats.
Oh, I know, that's the time, right?
I just think that they should do the new modern kitchen, which is no kitchen, just a phone, Uber Eats. I don't even need a kitchen. I need Uber Eats and Ziplocs. Or just, a really chubby dog that eats the leftovers.
Hey Google, can you?
Yeah.
I kind of go back again. You have like the maid's kitchen, like way back in the day. And then you have the kitchen where everyone congregates, and go back to no kitchen with just the phone.
Yeah, I think that's the way I want to go. I think kitchens are one of the big main primary parts of the house now, and I think you hit it on the head. So if you get it so that it's uncluttered, I like the wall acne versus those things can disappear. But yeah, I think that on the basis of congregation and everybody being in the kitchen and enjoying cooking, yeah, I can see that and we see it too. So it's one of the things that we talk about when we have a new house and when we have a house that we put on the market. We talk about quartz countertops. It's one of the first things we say is the countertop. So let's talk about trends, because you are into the new build now. So you're building gorgeous houses. You're doing some great work. You've been doing wonderful renos in some of the most prestigious streets in Kingston. But are you noticing trends now? So, the family dynamic, or what people are asking you to build for them. Where are they splurging? Where are they cutting back? What's the dynamics in the trends in building today?
So I think in general, like the housing and how we power and fuel our houses is going to change dramatically in the future. We're seeing more electric cars, and I'm also seeing a lot more electric houses. We're actually doing a project coming up this year. It's a build, and they have extremely well insulated house. The exterior walls are like there's R16 foam, like 4 inches of foam around the whole perimeter of the house. Okay. Plus the stud cavities are insulated with something like R29 or something like that.
This is like the ICF stuff, or it's something beyond that?
It's just a typical wood framing, and they're not typical. They're using these different types of panels that are waterproof as you put them on.
Is it a SIP panel?
It's kind of like that.
Are you impressed that I even knew that?
Yeah, so a SIP panel is basically 2 pieces of plywood or OSB with continuous foam on the inside.
Not as impressive as what I was saying.
And they connect the whole house together like Lego.
Yeah.
This is actually called a zip panel.
They stole what I was saying.
Pretty much, yeah. So they're building this house. It's going to be super airtight. We're actually doing a blower door test while we're doing the build to see how airtight the house is, because they want a certain amount of air changes per hour. Okay. Or I think that's how it goes. Yeah. And they're trying to reduce that. And so basically we are trying to focus on building this extremely airtight house that is extremely efficient, and it's actually a flat roof on this house too. With an ICF foundation and very, very, so it's actually heated by an air source heat pump, which is through electricity.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and got it.
And so the concern in the past with air source heat pumps is usually when you get to -20 or -30, they wouldn't work or they weren't efficient or they basically shut off. Yeah. And I think they're getting more and more efficient with these systems, and they're finding ways to make them work without having to rely on when it turns -20, my power goes out.
Yeah, the ambient heat pumps. Okay, so I I was in that business. So the ambient heat pumps were an air conditioner that would reverse. And the problem with your stating, you're right, it's a greenhouse gas. The R410A is hot. It's a hot gas, but we compress it in the summer and it's cold. And it automatically expands to a certain level at about minus 20 something, and it's hot. We just blow air through, we get free heat. So you're saying that they've come up with something that's actually, so maybe they've created a different gas that allows this to heat in lower temperatures. Because that's the problem. We've had situations where we've installed those, but they can't be primary heat sources because a minus 30 day, you're sitting there saying, where's our heat? Yeah. So they have, you're saying ambient heat pumps are coming out that will go below minus 30, whatever.
Yeah, and I think because this house we're building, I don't see any other source of heat that we're building it with. I don't know the specs for sure yet.
Yeah.
But we're just kind of in preliminary stages, but I'm going, there's no backup system here.
No, I'd love to hear about that. And I'll tell you the story where we would supply people with fuel for their heating. If they put in an ambient heat pump that was, say, the old technology, which is what's being sold today, they would drop by 2/3. So you would get your heat source out of the air based on that situation. So that sort of, with efficiencies and the cost of fuel going up, look, you go fill up your car, you fill up your house, whatever, whether it's gas, electric, whatever. We got to find ways to deal with this. Yeah. Actually, have you come into anything with the solar? Like I know you yourself had some solar situations on properties that you had, but I know Tesla's been talking about the solar shingle. Anything coming along like that? Have you had any experience with solar, whether it's back to power the grid or powering the entire house?
So I have some clients actually, we're dealing with actually 2 different builds right now, and one is installing solar right off the kick, and the other clients are putting a line in to put solar down the road.
Okay.
The one client's actually on Wolf Island, and the other client is in town somewhere, I can't remember. Yeah, and I think what they're doing is they're putting it in the bank to put power to their house. I don't think anyone is selling it back to the grid anymore because the prices aren't as good as they used to be when they first came out. Which is, it's still good to power your house with solar, and I'm not sure if people are thinking, if I can get off the grid, I don't need to pay for electricity or gas or whatever system that I don't have to do. And I believe the way the system works is you have like a bank of batteries that it goes into, and then it draws from that bank of batteries. And once that bank of batteries runs out, you start powering with the extra heat system.
Neat.
So we do have some clients looking into doing that. I'm not sure how often. Actually, I've seen it as a different power source or a heat source. It's they're wind turbines, but they don't have blades anymore. They're just like a stick.
Oh.
And it's like, do you know how you drive? Actually, you probably have never seen it. I've never saw it. So I saw this thing where basically, let's say you're driving on the highway, they have the highway lights.
Yeah.
And they actually have turbulence in the highway lights, so they vibrate back and forth.
And that actually causes...
It creates energy and heat.
Oh.
So I'm going, how much more efficient would that be if you had no blades to constantly repair all the time, and all you had to do is this?
Yeah. As long as you do it horizontally.
Yeah.
All right. So basically,
Well, the other trend I'd say that's happening is like you're saying, I don't think like people are doing like a separate entertainment room as much anymore. Or basically everything's essentially open concept.
Yeah.
Like this build, I feel like is basically a big square box or a big big rectangle, and downstairs is they have a kitchen, a living room, multi-purpose room, all in one space.
Yep.
And then they have a staircase. The other side of that is just like a little sitting room, den type area. And then upstairs is completely functional, where there's one long hallway and there's bedroom, and then the master. And every single bedroom off the back overlooks the water. So it's kind of a unique build. I feel like this one, the one that this build we're working on is kind of, I wouldn't say futuristic, but it's something where it's, again, they're trying to use low energy, be off the grid essentially.
Yeah.
So it's it's a unique system. This big square box, I think it's gonna be easier to insulate. I don't know. Flat roofing is not very common, but I kind of think that might come into effect. We actually had a project where people were putting, those plants put in the flat roof?
I've seen these green roofs where they have a living roof.
Yeah, and so it's basically like you put this living roof on, and it like makes the value of your roof like A, last longer, and B, you're basically giving back to the ecosystem.
And you're not selling power to the grid, but you're selling tomatoes to market.
Exactly.
No, I've seen the green roofs, and we're seeing it. You know, you see more of this in the sort of non-urban spaces. But yeah, I haven't seen that around Kingston. So you think that this could be a trend with green roofs and living space up top?
Yeah, I would say so. I know that being said, it's not economically really to do that or economical. But that being said, I think people are becoming more health conscious.
Yeah.
Especially with the products they're choosing, the different products they're selling in their house. They're going, well, you know, what is the off-gas effect of this product?
Yeah.
And so they're saying, you know, if I'm living in this house, is that going to negatively affect me?
Yeah.
And how long term? And I've been asked, like, I know there's drywall, for instance, you can get that actually takes in, like, over 50 years, something like that, it takes in the off-gassing effect.
Oh, really?
And so it actually absorbs it which seems crazy to me.
You're not the only contractor in Kingston. Look, so we're looking at doing a contract, people get quotes and all that sort of good stuff, but look, invariably we hear the bad stories, you know, that somebody had a contractor come in and they quoted a job, and at the end they weren't happy with the result. And I think that there's a burden on both parties, so expectation versus result. We don't know what happened, we weren't there. But let's just go on the basis of, let's not be the person that has the complaining story about a bad renovation job. Give me 3 things that they got to look at when they're interviewing you or another contractor.
I would say, like, I always say get 3 quotes. That's one thing that's pretty easy. And you can see based on, okay, are these 3 quotes all similar, or is one really low?
Yep.
Maybe that one's really low forgot something. Or maybe there's no strategy they're using there where they're gonna change order you to death. So, you know, there's a few different strategies. I think first is, you know, get 3 of them in there.
Yeah.
And I also find, like, in a lot of times in life, you get, like, you know, gut feeling, and usually your gut kind of tells your brain, and so you're going, oh, I have a bad gut feeling about this.
Yeah, these are not the people for me.
Yeah, and sometimes that actually, those alarm bells going off, really, you should you listen to your gut. And a lot of times too, it's hard as a, you know, retail or a client or a homeowner, because you're going out there, you don't know everything about construction, so you're trusting that trade contractor to know everything. And so it's really hard, even that, okay, I know a contractor, it's hard to be able to quiz that contractor, because how are you going to be quiz them on stuff that you don't know? Mm-hmm. And so it's a very difficult dilemma for anyone to be in, but especially the homeowner. And so questions to ask, I don't know, do you have WSIB? Do you have like a safety plan? Do you have a safety policy that your company has?
Those are great points. Somebody, look, what happens if a worker falls off somebody's roof and you didn't ask these questions?
Yeah, and you're liable probably if they don't have WSIB.
I think as a homeowner, if they don't have WSIB, you're right. I think they're liable for the, you know, we don't want anyone injured, but we also don't want to be responsible for people's staff that they're supposed to have looked after. Okay, those are valid questions. Okay, so you hire the contractor. Now, are you all done? You just leave it go and you let them do their thing? Or how do you find, look, you don't want to be over involved and get in the way of people, but you also have an obligation to protect yourself of what's going on, that you're happy. Because when it's all done, it's all done. So, you know, what's your advice? What do you appreciate from a homeowner while you're working that helps you, so that you know that you're not going to be faced with something at the end that that you weren't aligned with what the expectations were?
Yeah, that's a big thing actually, and it is the expectation of the finished product. Because some people don't want a really fancy finish. Some people want, you know, just run-of-the-mill product, they don't care. And so if we went, you know, the extra mile on something, did something crazy, amazing, gorgeous for somebody, they wouldn't care. So that's the contractor side. You got to gauge what they want. That's sometimes hard to know. But as the contractor and the client working through that process and going through that build, I haven't dealt with many contractors myself because I'm, you know, dealing with myself. The big thing I would say is the biggest red flag I find with a contractor is if I find something that I don't like or they're not doing correctly, and I bring it up to them and say, hey, like, I don't like the way this looks, could you change that? And they get all defensive and they're like, and they get all upset with you. to me, as soon as they get upset and they're defensive, that means that they're no good. The reason I say that is because the best contractors that we work with, and we have subcontractors who do flooring and stuff like that. If I go to them and say, you know what, I don't like the way this is finished, and they give me a bunch of pushback, then I'm like, this isn't going to work because they aren't going to warranty their product. If they're giving me this pushback now, what happens when the job is done and I go to them and say, hey, I don't like this or this broke or something like that? It already gives me some red flags off the hop that they're probably not going to warranty that product.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a really good example recently. I kind of took on a client, and I wanted to help them out and fit them in, and it was kind of to my peril because I was doing them a favor by getting them in our schedule and getting the job done, and I brought a subcontractor on to do some of the finishing work, and I was there every other day type of thing, making sure things are going well. And one thing led to another, and the contractor I would say, do this, specifically do this. And he'd say, okay, I did that. And then I'll come back later and it's like, what? You didn't do that? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And so you get to the point where do I, fire this guy and find someone else? Well, I don't know. I want to get this done. They're already in my house. They're already working. And so it puts everyone in a really awkward scenario.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, if I, fire this contractor right here, right now, I have to go wait another 6 months or something to find another contractor.
Yeah.
And so it is a tough path, and I definitely finding those accredited people who word of mouth, if they've worked with someone else before, that's a big thing too. Because I find even like a lot of those accolades you get online or stuff, some of them aren't exactly all completely honest. Some of them are voted in by their friends or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it's like it's really hard. But yeah, I don't know. Top 3 things. I would say get 3 quotes regardless.
Yeah.
Think with your gut, and then ask them about how they warranty the product lines, and maybe be critical when they're working through the process.
Yeah. When warranty also is going to come from experience and longevity. I have to admit, like with roofing contractors, there's a few fellas that I know and I utilize, but I always see a new one come with an out of town number, and then I think to myself, okay, well maybe they're the best price, but are they doing everything right? I don't know roofing. I don't know exactly how to do it, or you wouldn't want me up on your roof. But if the person's just getting into business or just getting into town, which is even worse. Look, I'm a big buy local. I think we support local, but that goes even further than just economics when it comes to hiring your trade or your sub trade, because you get somebody that's a drywaller and he learned from his father and they've worked together and they've been 20, 30, 40 years. I've got faith that they didn't get there out of luck. It's because that they, as you said, they warranty their product, that they're somebody that you can talk to and they know what they're doing because they've been trained. So maybe I guess that is it's sort of understanding their geography and their warranties and what they do. And that warranty comes from, I think, experience, geography, and the ability to know that you can pick up the phone and find them.
Oh, it's like, for example, like that you say that, like I take a lot for granted my life and where my family, I'm born and bred into a family business. And so not necessarily contracting, but I've learned how, through my father and his business, what he's run, I've learned how to run a business and what things are good and what things are not. And I have taken that completely for granted over the years and always thought to myself, why does everyone just start their own business?
Yeah.
But it's not that easy. And there's a lot of, I've probably had, 16 years ahead of everyone else from when I, was a kid to when I was in high school of business talk around the table. But yeah, like learning, like if you can get a trade who's, a family of business, who's done it for years and years and years, that's one of the better businesses because they already have a system built in place. They already have that. And yeah, if you can get someone who's been doing it for 30 years, I always say, like, just because you've been doing it for 30 years doesn't mean you've been doing it right. But that being said, if you have a business that's ran for 30 years, you must be doing something right because you haven't gone out of business.
Well, and they have a reputation. That reputation took that 30 years to build. And it can take, one terrible job where you did lose your cool or you didn't pacify a client to lose that reputation. So I would say, you ask around, the 3-quote system, and you can also ask sometimes I find that if I ask my neighbor, or I ask somebody that I know, that's done a renovation, what was your experience like? They'll tell you the good and the bad. You're like, okay, that plumber's not for me, or that electrician's not for me. Oh, you know what? I've heard 5 people tell me, what a great job that electrician did. So at least you don't have to go blindly and hire them, but you can at least make them one of your 3. So, look, I find local is probably going to be one of the big things. We try to deal with local here on, when we have a meeting with somebody and have a nice tete-a-tete. But yeah, we're generally talking to local people because, they have and they're embedded in our community. They've grown up in a family that has worked here in the community, so you're accountable.
I would say the other thing too is if they can do your work right away, that's probably an area of concern.
Oh yes.
And I found actually, it's kind of funny though, because in Toronto, comparing Kingston to Toronto for contractors, we'll have some clientele who come from Toronto, and they'll be expecting the same type of service they get in Toronto versus Kingston. And that service is, we're going to start tomorrow for you. I don't know how people do it in Toronto, but you'll pick up your phone and you'll call a company and they'll be there on your doorstep the same day.
How?
I don't know what it is, and I've had clients tell me, I said, I came to Kingston and I called 8 contractors and I got 0 come to my door. Wow. And I'm going, what happened? Like in Toronto, I'll call 3 and I'll have 5 come. And so it's like, what's the difference? And I said, well, I think the biggest difference is Kingston's smaller.
All right, well, look, Mason, thank you for being with us. Thanks for talking to us about the renovation process and what you and LaFramboise Construction do. So again, I'm Adam Coben, Royal LePage Pro Alliance Realty. I'm here with Mason LaFramboise, owner-operator of LaFramboise Construction. Mason, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining us as well.